Well, hello, everybody. In today's video, I'm doing a collaboration with my friend Dave Peter from Coin Huskers in Omaha, Nebraska. Say hey, Dave.
Hey, hello, everybody.
Thanks for joining me today. We've been trying to plan this for quite some time. We both have very busy lives, both in and out of our businesses. So I'm glad we're able to get together today. And we're just going to kind of have a back and forth and talk about the precious metal industry from two different perspectives. The first side, my side, obviously being the retail perspective. Dave does wholesale and retail both, so he can offer an interesting take on it that you maybe don't get to hear over YouTube because most of the major channels are interviewing coin shop owners, um, collectors. They don't often interview wholesalers, so it's going to be an interesting take that I think you'll all find to be interesting and exciting. So first off, Dave, for you, I mean, we haven't known each other all that long, but I would consider you a friend. You're great to work with. I'm very thankful that our paths happened to cross and that I discovered you in a fellow dealer wholesale group that we're a part of on the Facebook platform. So fate has a way of connecting people. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, well, our first transaction was pretty interesting because it was the first package we sent Josh. We had 20 kilo silver bars that were actually cut open and stolen. It was our first package ever after. So we've been in business, since 2011. So that was really interesting. I felt so bad. So that was, but yeah, fate definitely, greatly appreciate our friendships and been nothing but great and pleasant transaction since. So thankfully we got that first one out of the way. We're super.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dave, and I appreciate that. And I felt physically ill to my stomach when I realized that the boxes had been compromised because frankly, I didn't know you. You didn't know me. I didn't know the kind of person you were. And God, is he even going to believe me? We'd never done business before. And I call him and tell him, yeah, this $16,000, I guess it was probably about an $8,000 box has
Yep.
been cut open. There's nothing inside. And then the same thing happened to a second box. But you were great, Dave. I can't thank you enough for putting faith in your fellow man, I guess, and that really speaks high volumes of your character too. So I really, really appreciate that. It's made me feel really appreciated, and I thank you.
Well, big thank you because all those times I felt I was wasting my time by showing the video and laying everything out on the table finally came through in a big way. So I truly
Finally,
appreciate
finally
it.
paid off.
And it was kind of fun. Just on this, we had 14 kilos that were sent back. We had 8 were in like a lost and found, and then 6 were found in Mississippi of all places. And then we ended up getting a assurance check back on the rest of the bar. So it was a very good ending to the story. So, but yeah,
Yeah, well, I'm glad that all worked out. But boy, what a headache! What a
uh,
headache.
it worked out well. So
Good. Well, I guess we should maybe get started with questions. If you don't mind, I'll ask my question first.
yeah.
How did you get started in the industry of collectible coins and precious metals?
Well, I had an interesting path. I never expected to get in this business. I was actually at Creighton in Omaha, Nebraska, doing pre-physical therapy, and I was doing an undergraduate 3-year accelerated program, and then undergraduate, and then 3-year graduate, so 6-year total. And I was also thinking about playing college soccer at Creighton, and then decided not to. I had a lawn service and did pretty well with that. And I read The Creature from Jekyll Island my freshman year of college, and I remember even going home my first semester of college, and I think my exact words, I was telling my mom that I didn't want to be going here anymore, and I thought it was, I kept kind of joking it was like indoctrination camp. So just felt I was being brainwashed, and then had a passion, started studying monetary history and economics after I read that book, and then ended up getting transferred colleges and ended up getting a finance, banking, and real estate degree, and just had a passion for monetary history. And then that led down to gold and silver. I read Mike Maloney's Rich Dad Guide to Investing in Gold and Silver, and it came out in August of 2008. I read it in October 2008, and I was set. I didn't even miss a single month of buying since. And then opened this business in 2011 in the fall in Idaho, because Nebraska, where I'm from, we had 7% sales tax. And I had a friend from Idaho that we talked for a long time, and ended up going out there and visiting, and then ended up opening my first store in Pocatello, Idaho in 2011.
Okay. Okay. Wow, that is quite a path. And
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned that book, David, because I read that book not as early as you. I was probably 2011 or so when I read that book. I actually have it in my shop,
Oh,
and it was sitting right beside me when you said that book. This is the book, right?
yeah, and I remember you saying that in a video too. Very cool. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing book, and if everybody watching hasn't had an opportunity to read this, it's a great read. And there's actually free copies you can find online, but this book actually has been updated recently with additional chapters, but it's worth going out and buying because there's truly invaluable information in here. It's an incredible book, and it really opens your eyes to how the whole system works.
100%. That's a life-changing book. I've given so many free copies of that book out. I've actually paid people twice to watch the Hidden Secrets of Money, Mike Maloney's videos. We got them on our website still to this day. But I've actually, the first time we did it, it was, I think, 2018. We paid people 3 ounces of silver because we were going to do a drawing for a ½ ounce of silver, and then did it again in 2019. And so, yeah, that book is phenomenal. It's definitely, and the videos, if anybody gets a chance, the Hidden Secrets of Money series is tremendous as well.
Yes, I agree. I've watched those a couple times, at least all the way through. And once again, it's a wealth of information.
So how did you get started, Josh?
Well, my father was a coin collector, and how he got his start, I guess, was as a paper boy in the early 1960s. And that was back in the day where the paper boy had to actually go to the homes and collect. And, it might have been 50 cents for the week or something like that for them to get a newspaper. And he got paid occasionally in silver, whether it be silver $50 or Morgans or piece dollars. And it really sparked an interest in him. And he saved those coins. And in fact, he was in the shop today. He's left now because I'm actually closed, but he actually brought a box of coins and showed me today the first silver coin he ever received, and it was one that he received as a paper boy in the 60s, and it's a really worn 1921 Walking Liberty $50, which is a semi-key date,
Yeah.
but it's pretty far gone as far as condition, but he kept it and he has it labeled in a 2x2, so he'll always remember. So his passion for coin collecting, I mean, I've witnessed my whole life, and some of my earliest memories are sitting with my dad. We'd have card tables set up, going through coins, searching wheat pennies, helping him staple coins into 2x2 holders. So I became a coin collector as far back as I can remember. But honestly, I took probably close to a 20-year hiatus in my early teens
Oh, geez.
until about my early 30s. So I still kind of kicked myself at that point, at that age. I don't know. Coin collecting maybe isn't the coolest thing to do, which
Yeah.
I disagree with wholeheartedly now. I wish I really would have stuck with it and just have a little bit of regret thinking back, boy, if I could have been stacking silver when I was 18, 19 years old, the prices I would have paid would seem like such a deal versus today. But anyway, the flame was relit with me, the passion for coin and metal investing, when my parents gifted me some American Silver Eagles back in 2011, I believe, for Christmas, because they kind of took a break themselves, quite frankly, and they got into stacking again a couple years prior to that, and I wanted to get me interested again. Just took one look and I was hooked again, and kind of went full steam ahead. And in 2014, decided to start this part-time business, which I basically operated out of my basement. I did flea markets. I set up a coin show that I put on here in Minot, and I sold stuff out of my office at my Burger King restaurants because people knew I was the silver guy. So they'd come to Burger King and buy silver rounds from me at Burger King. And it just got so crazy and so busy that finally I opened a retail location a few years later. And here we are today. So, but yeah, I have my father to thank getting me interested. And he's my partner in this business to this day. So it's something nice and fun we can do together.
That's a very neat story. And he brought that in today.
Yeah, he did. And he didn't know we were having this call either, and I didn't know you were going to ask me that either. So it's kind of funny how things come full circle sometime.
Wait,
But
that's
yeah, it's crazy.
well, you're gonna laugh. We last Monday we had an 18-year-old start working. So he's been coming in for over 10 years. So, and I keep telling him, he's been saving since he's about 8 years old, maybe even 7. So I keep telling him, if you keep going at 18 and keep stacking, you're going to be a millionaire by the time you're 30 easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get a lot of young people surprisingly in the shop, which I love. I really, really appreciate the young people, and I'm always giving them freebies. They'll get grams of silver, or they'll get a silver dime or quarter when they come in, or I'll give them copper, and just to keep them interested and engaged. And most of them have come back and actually, when they get birthday money, or they get tooth fairy money, or they get Christmas money, they're asking their parents to come to the coin shop, which I think is awesome. Rather than going and buying a toy that's going to break, or a video game that you'll get bored of in a couple of days, they're thinking about their financial future, which obviously is heavily influenced by their parents. But I think it's great. And the more young people that can get involved, the better for everyone.
100%. I have a sign. I wish I could. It's a little bit back. Actually, I got another room. But everybody that came in our retail store, we did the same thing. We had a free coin, so we give them Buffalo nickel, V nickel, Indian cent, just something that was worth, just anything that sparked their interest. Would do the same as well.
Yeah, that's great. I love that, and I wish more places did that. Just to, we really got to get the next generation interested, because I've heard older people in our coin club. I'm an officer in our coin club here in Minot too, that have always joked, "Yeah, we got to get the younger generation interested in, so when our time is up, or we're near the end of our lives, we got to have somebody to sell our collections to." So we always need that next man up, I guess, to put it that way.
No doubt. Just go to any coin show and you'll see there's no one really under 30.
Yeah, well, not usually, but yeah, you're right. You're right. Um, I do have some more questions. Can I ask the next one?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, let's focus now on kind of the markets, and you can talk both about retail and wholesale side since you have experience in both. But how have the markets changed in your eyes over the last couple of years? Not just necessarily with prices, but how people are buying, why people are buying, what people are buying. If you could touch on that, I think that'd be an interesting thing for the viewers to hear.
Yeah, so on wholesale side, we were just volume wise, you can just tell everybody's doing a lot more volume. To ever, really, let's just go back till when COVID started, so March of 2020. I just remember Eagles were reasonably priced. At that point, I still remember I bought 14,000 Eagles and I paid 5.25 over. And I wish I could go back and buy every single one at that price. But I remember at the time, almost like, what the heck? This is the most I've ever paid since 2011. Since I've been in business. This is nuts. I can't believe I'm doing this. But I knew, that was a fake paper price when we got, down to the 12 range. And I remember hitting it right at that level. So
Wow, good for you.
he is lucky, but Eagles were moving pretty good then, and then now not so much. I really don't want to stock so much, silver Eagles, and then 90% has really ebbed and flowed a lot. We've not moving as much as 90% as it was right when kind of things started, and then premiums have gone down 90%, and Eagles have moved really quick on a wholesale level. And then silver rounds, just constantly seems like we can't get enough silver rounds in stock. I mean, just constantly. I always say I don't want to be out of stock without silver rounds, but right now, especially Buffalo rounds, we just cannot seem to keep enough on order or keep them coming right now. So that's really been the biggest. So basically, just silver, just constant need and demand for silver.
Right. Are you seeing, Dave, are you seeing product like timing delays on rounds right now? Like how far out are silver rounds on a wholesale side?
So on wholesale, well, we work with the largest private mint. That's usually where I get most of our silver rounds and 10-ounce bars, 5-ounce bars, just most of the silver bars or rounds. And right now, we can get rounds, and that's coming to us. Is usually we're getting stuff in about 2 weeks on 3 different designs of rounds, but Buffalo rounds are delayed the most. It's 6-week delay. Then 10-ounce bars, not too bad right now, about a 2-week delay on even say 10-ounce bars, and then bigger bars are readily available. So that's delays right now on the main item on silver. And then so there really, ever since COVID started, there hasn't been a silver shortage. It's been a shortage of just rounds and refined material. So there's enough silver grain out there in 1,000-ounce bars But those are delays right now in the main items.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that tells me then that demand is still quite high.
Yeah.
How is that, how have you seen demand ebb and flow just over the last few months? And I ask that because, as you well know, I bought a lot from you in the month of March and April, but March was a big month. We were very busy in the shop, and I know you were equally, if not more, busy in both of your entities, wholesale and retail. But how is demand now versus what was it, first week of March when those first bank failures were announced, and it really created a frenzy. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely nuts. I looked at the numbers today. We have sold about 3 million less so far this month than the month of March. And then last month in April, we sold about almost 2 million less than the month of March. So March was just off the charts. Um, just
How does
demand.
that go ahead? Sorry.
So compared to a normal month, I mean, we just substantially down. So March was I think we sold the most in March than any other month since we've been in business. So March, obviously things were just off the chart. Anything that we had coming in was just gone in a
Now,
nanosecond.
now, does that include the retail side as well, or are you just speaking of the wholesale side? I suppose they're both similar.
Both. I mean, on the retail side, I would have a phone call every couple minutes. I mean, I could not answer enough calls, and we didn't have enough help. I mean, it's just, I was getting home, after 10 o'clock, like lunch was 5:30, dinner was 10 o'clock or later.
Midnight.
Yeah, it was just absolutely insane. I just was, nonstop. And so we don't have that going on now. So I would say retail side, the calls have really slowed down from where it was. Just traffic through the door and appointments. So we would have an appointment on our retail side literally every 10 to 15 minutes. I could not get everybody in, and even on calls, I was, very brief. If anybody was calling at the time, I was just straight right to the point. Had to be no, conversations about anything else other than here's the price. Either basically take it or leave it. Which usually, I try to, just walk, explain things, but we just didn't have the time. So that's where I've been fortunate. We just send our YouTube videos as, what we got, and this is what's coming. So demand.
Right.
So just yeah, it's night and day difference, and we're having large distributors. We've had some of them actually call every day this week trying to move product, and they've lowered premiums, so we're seeing much lower premiums, and everybody's saying they're seeing a slowdown. All the major distributors in wholesale, and we had, it shows you how slow things are when we're getting distributors from the U.S. Mint that are calling us nearly daily and trying to move product.
So you just kind of touched on it. Premiums are starting to come down because demand has waned some, obviously, as you just spoke about your numbers in March compared to April and so far in May. And I can echo the same sentiments in my retail shop. In March, the month of March, and I don't like giving out sales numbers, but comparison's sake, we did an average year's sales in the month of March.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like 12 times a normal month basically, and it's just me in the shop. So to echo your sentiment too, I had 3, 4, 5, 8 people in the shop, all vying for my attention. Most people were very patient, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, my phone's ringing. So, you got to take care of the people in front of you first. I truly believe that. But sometimes I aren't able to answer phones. But it was a wild, wild time. Now, granted, I didn't have as late at nights as you. I'm thankful because at some point I just shut the door and went home. But I appreciate you making time for me during off hours too, because I would just send you a text maybe at 8 at night, expecting you to reply back tomorrow morning, and you would call me. Sure, Josh, what do you need? And I don't expect that level of service, but it's been amazing, and you've been great. So thank you. And I've always told you I'll try not to bug you during odd hours, but you said, well, don't worry about it. Everybody else does.
Those were odd. I mean, odd hours where we were getting calls at 2 in the morning. Like there was a couple of days in a row.
Oh my goodness.
At 2 in the morning. It wasn't just like, one, it was like several. So we would have, messages at midnight or all time. So yeah, that was 8 o'clock is like early. So
Yeah, that is wild. So, but getting back to the premium side of it,
yeah,
why, in your opinion, did premiums get so high? I mean, we're seeing high premiums still on American Silver Eagles. 90% silver for a period was ridiculously high. Even silver rounds creeped up, most sovereign silver, prices of gold a little bit. Can you speak on, uh, from your wholesaler perspective, why that's happening, or why it happened, I should say?
Record demand. I mean, supply and demand drives the commodity, and it was just record demand. You look at Eagles, I guess I don't mind giving wholesale numbers. So I mean, went up to remember back, what did we get up to? 15, close to that on almost on a
Mm-hmm.
level. And then now we've
Yep.
come to 12 to 13 wholesale level and to buy. And that's 2013 Eagles are obviously less than backdates. And 90% went to a little bit over $10 to buy wholesale. And then I remember we could even wholesale it out. So this is what wholesalers would pay us was $9. That was just a couple months ago. So it was definitely driven by, no question, record demand. And everybody had shorter supply. So they were just, that's where the market was at. So that's what they were charging. And on
Yeah.
that, the distributors get Silver Eagles from the mint. They buy 25,000 ounces at a time and pay 235 over. So that market did get out of hand of, what things, where they're getting things at, but that's just where the demand was at.
Right. So one question I get a lot, like when we had times, and Eagle premiums still are way too high. And I encourage almost people not to buy them too. And I don't even like buying them across the counter because I feel bad because I don't want to pay much for them because nobody's buying them. But anyway, who's making that extra money? Because my customers, they'll come in and, there was a time, well, this was probably a year ago, maybe or so, but I mean, average price on a silver round was spot plus six, and you couldn't find one online for less than that. And I was at spot plus six in the shop, and someone came in. This was quite a while ago, as I said, but they came in and they were used to buying it at 75 cents over or a dollar over, and kind of gave me the business about the price I was charging. And I just quoted them here. I'm having to pay 4.5 over to get them wholesale. So
Yeah.
I'm charging six. And they asked me, well, who's making all the extra money? I said, well, that's a good question because it's not me. I'm actually making a lesser percentage as the premiums go higher. I try to kind of stick to a dollar amount in my own mind when I'm retailing over spot, like on an ounce of silver that I make that I feel comfortable with. Who is making that extra money as premiums rise? Because it certainly isn't the retailer, at least in my instance. And I have a feeling it's probably not you, the wholesaler, either.
Well, it's the 10 distributors from the US Mint. So you have right on the US Mint's website, and we can even link this, which you've had two distributors added since since we've been in business. AppMex was added, and then StoneX, they were group of guys from AMark. So the distributors are making that spread because again, they're buying 25,000 silver eagles at a time from the US Mint. It's right on the US Mint's website, and they're paying 235 over. So the distributors are marking that up because that's where demand's at. And then
Right.
it also is a pretty decent spread from what they're selling it at and what they're buying it back at. I know we've wholesaled out over 800 yesterday at 9 over. Last week it was 10 over, and the week before it was, I think a couple weeks it was 2.5 or 3. It was 11. So that's the distributors are making that extra spread. It's not, and then they're carrying that cost gets passed down to the retailers. And just like you, I'm sure I've made this comment so many times. I feel bad selling silver eagles at this price. I had somebody that wanted to buy 1,000 yesterday, and I just kind of let them know, just if you can please and thank you, just wait till we get something in. Like we bought 800 yesterday and was, just bought them at a wholesale price. But yeah, no, it's and even bought some more today. It's the distributors are making that extra spread. It's not, the retailers are even the non distributors from the US Mint, which you do business with some of the other wholesalers that aren't actual distributors from the US Mint. So it's just those US Mint specifically distributors that are making those spreads, and they're marking it up at those premiums.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. And there you have it, folks, because I've been asked that many, many times and haven't had a clear answer. And that's really what I suspected. But I figure you dealing on the wholesale side would have a great insight on that. So you were talking about, you're buying Eagles. Um, what other types of things do you buy?
Well, we buy, nearly anything, everything, scrap gold and silver. We also do buy jewelry, watches, collectibles, just a whole variety of items, just besides specifically gold and silver bullion or coins. So this week in particular, we had a pretty couple large collections come in. So we had some 20-cent pieces, a full collection of Indian cents, Buffalo nickels, V nickels, just kind of everything you think of U.S. coins. This person either had graded coins or a raw collection. So we do
Wow.
one of the nicest collections and coins that I've have seen since I've been in business. A collection like this maybe comes around once every several years, or once maybe once in a decade to see something like this. So it was very cool, and it was very appreciated the opportunity to buy a collection like this. So we do
Yeah,
have.
I was going to say those are really fun to buy, and they're few and far between. I'm
Oh,
sure on in your retail space, you are usually buying coin hoards and coin accumulations. I wouldn't really call them collections. I mean, I'm assuming because you get partially completed Lincoln cent books, the old Whitman folders, and
oh
a
yeah.
coffee can full of silver dimes, and some rolls of Kennedy halves from bicentennials, or things that really don't have value. That's a lot of the stuff that trickles in here. Um, but then again, sometimes we get an opportunity to buy really, really nice things, and then it almost becomes a big challenge then to find a home for it. So how do you go about if you just kind of do appointments in your office? You came across this great collection with type coins and complete sets of all those different things you listed. How do you go about moving that product then?
So we got 10+ year relationships on coins that we got outlets for pretty much anything that comes in the store. I got an outlet for, just from all the relationships and connections that we've had over the years. So just
Hmm.
find the people that pay the best. We did put in our few in our little, just a little small bit in our coin dealer group that we have on Facebook. But most of them just went to the people that we've known for over 10 years, because we know they're going to treat us right. They're going to grade it right. And we don't have to, just time value capital, just put it back into rounds or just other things that are going to be, moving that we have demand for. But some of
Yeah,
the
and I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
it's no worries. Good.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say it's nice to have those outlets because, like you said, you truly do need to put it into something that can move more quickly. I have a lot of dead inventory having a coin shop, and I think that's what I mean by that is inventory that just sits. I mean, I've had certain silver dollars that I've probably owned for 10 years, but it's nice to have some variety, but at some point too, yeah, you want to offload the dead inventory to put it reinvest it into something that you can move because it's all about the cash flow and the flow of money really. So that's great that you have those connections.
And I was going to ask you, Josh, on the retail side, what are you typically carrying right now, and how do you decide what you're going to keep in stock and carry on the retail side right now?
Well, that's a great question. Really, it's going to be based on what's selling. I obviously want to try to stock things that I know I can sell. Early on, when I first started this business, I found out real quickly not everybody likes the same things that I do because that's the stuff I wanted to stock. And I realized, oh, not everybody wants to buy this stuff. So I've really had to broaden my scope. I really try very hard to keep a variety of everything,
Yeah.
whether it be, you know, bullion, silver, for example. I try to stock fractional, like less than an ounce. So I have gram pieces. I have 1 ounce silver rounds and bars. I have 30 different types of silver sovereigns on hand, probably, most of which are lower mintage pieces, which have a higher premium, of course. But, 2 ounce rounds, 5 ounce bars, 10 ounce bars, half kilo, 100 ounce. I even have 1,000 ounce bar on hand, just in case somebody wants one.
Yeah.
And then as far as the gold, same thing. Try to keep a variety of bars and coin and fractionals and from different countries and different price points because everybody has different budgetary constraints and different opinions on the best bang for their buck. So, and as far as the coin collector side, um, really, I sell what comes in. When I'm buying collections or hoards or accumulations, that becomes the collectible coin inventory that I have, very rarely have I sought out collectible coins on the wholesale market to have an inventory.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll get certain requests from customers. They're looking for, X, let's say, oh, I want a 1891 Carson City Morgan silver dollar in MS63. Well, I don't have one. So now the hunt begins. So now I try to find and source one for them. But basically my collectible side is limited to what I have on hand. And it's a very small piece of the pie in terms of sales in my shop. I'm truly a bullion shop that also buys and sells coins. And when I first started, and my love was with coins when I was a young kid. So that was kind of eye-opening for me, realizing that bullion has such a huge percentage. And I'm sure that's similarly true in most coin shops, that they're selling bullion more so probably than collector coins. But I could be wrong. It'd be interesting to hear other opinions on that. And you could speak of that, I guess.
No, definitely. I mean, most demand bullion, it's obviously, affordable, but there is, strictly, coins are for, coin dealers obviously going to the major shows and big shows throughout the US. So obviously there is a great demand and need for that, but overall in any major, city in the US, it's bullion. That's, the main, business that is done. And that's, we don't have people calling us up on a daily basis wanting rare Morgan dollars or rare, peace dollars. It's, that's few and far between on when it comes to coins. So,
Right.
Question demand, you gotta, that's, why the store, you have that is you gotta, that's what the demand is bullion. And would you say you're selling more rounds and bars or in gold? And then are you selling more gold eagles, gold bars? What sales, have you been mostly selling in the store?
Well, it depends on if you're talking in terms of ounces or in terms of dollars. I actually put out a video a while back on my channel, the hot items in the coin shop, where it focused on my past 2 months sales based on dollars. And of course, the top two were gold, because gold is 80 times more expensive per ounce than silver. But in terms of ounces, far and away, I'm selling more silver. And it's honestly, lately, it's been sovereign silver. And you probably had a hunch, Dave, because I've ordered it all from you lately. I've been ordering monster boxes of Philharmonics and Noah's Arks and Krugerrands. That's what's moving, because the spreads right now on those particular ones are so close to the price of a silver round. Customers are willing to pay an extra 10, 20 cents, whatever it is, to get a box of those. So I've been selling those and been offering to my large buyers, I guess, rather than rounds. And it's a much better value. So that's really been moving well for me lately. Gold demand has slowed a lot.